starts with a focus on our users.
I think Milwaukee Tool is the brand that is most dedicated to the trades.
We chose to innovate each and every product we come out with from the ground up.
We need to continue to disrupt. We need to continue to change the game. We must innovate or die, and we believe it.
There's no complacency, none.
We embrace change. We are always looking for better ways, better methods, better processes.
We clearly believe we have a unique culture, and I think we all believe it is the reason why we have grown to the level that we have grown and why we have accomplished the things that we have.
We understand the people are the most important resource in developing a good product.
This is who we are. This is how we are going to define ourselves.
It's what Milwaukee's about, building the best, and they're the best at what they do.
When we think of our business, we don't think of ourselves as a power tool company or an accessory company or a hand tool company. We think of ourselves as a solution provider, and that's very different.
That was a really great video from Milwaukee Tool showcasing their innovation and growth over the past few years. And I'm really excited to talk about the data side of their company today. My name is Anita Umbulavanan, and I'm a program manager at Microsoft. And today I'm joined with Omnidata and the data and analytics team at Milwaukee Tool to discuss their unified analytics platform. I'm really happy to have you guys here, and I'd love it if you could introduce yourselves.
Sure. I'm Josh Van Hersley, so I'm the director here and head up the data and analytics team for Milwaukee Tool.
I am Kendra Moore. I lead all the project management and program management within the data and analytics space at Milwaukee Tool.
And I'm Tobias L. I'm a partner and vice president at Omnidata, and I'm the lead architect for the data analytics project that we've been running here at Milwaukee Tool.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you all here. And before we dive into the technical elements of the solution, I'd love to take a few steps back and kind of talk about some of the factors that influence the business decision of building out this platform.
Sure. I think the video highlighted a few things that have been going on here at Milwaukee. So over the last few years, we've been globalizing our footprint, expanding our manufacturing piece. We've been getting into new business segments, and we've been growing at an extreme rate. And all of that has been adding complexities to the data sets and the way that data flows through our environment. And our culture here is really focused around being obsessed with winning, having amazing products, and we have values that support that from a cultural standpoint about being fast and agile and having a sense of urgency for things. And really what we realized is that the data products that we had were not really living up to that from a brand standpoint. So the three challenges that we really were looking at for the project was our on-prem environment was not meeting the needs of the business. It was based on some old technology and some old logic, and we weren't being able to deliver as fast as the business needed us to. I think that's one piece of it. Data is becoming a big part of the culture. It's an asset to the business now. As we get into new places, we have to use data in a different way. We have to be able to analyze data that's more complex than it had been in the past. And the last piece is that our team, from an IT standpoint, was having to maintain the infrastructure that we had in place. So we're really in firefighting mode, keeping things running, but knowing that we needed to kind of get out in front of things, get to a place that was new technology, get to the cloud, get us things that fit more with the culture that we have than where we were a few years ago when we put that into place.
Yeah, and I feel like with innovation and disruption at the top of mind, collaboration is a huge factor into how you make that possible. And I'd love to know more about how you guys established the partnership you have with Omnidata.
Absolutely, I can definitely take that one. The partnership with Omnidata was rather specific. So we were actually in the process of doing an upgrade to one of the legacy systems that we were responsible for maintaining. So we knew that we wanted to build something net new, specifically within the Azure space. So the platform had everything that as a company we desired, from its performance, its ability to scale, and our ability to go from on-prem to the cloud. So that disruptive component that Josh talked about. So when we were looking for a partner, we looked at several. I think which is what responsible people do, to say, is this the right person? Is this the right company? Is this the right solution? So that's where we looked at a Microsoft Gold certified partner. We needed somebody who had the very specific skill set to enable our new journey into the cloud in the Azure space, which is something that we had dabbled a bit, but we needed a very kind of strong foothold in the skill set, a team that could help us not only take it there, but to help a team reskill just a little bit so that we weren't just focused on the on-prem. We were now focused on some on-prem in a new space within Azure.
Yeah, I was going to say the other piece is we had already established a relationship with Omni on the other project, and in conversation, there were a lot of synergies in where they were and where we needed to be, and I think that played a big role in it too. Our culture is very big to us, and Omni certainly matched that culture, which is not easy to do with a lot of other vendors.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys, you really established your business goals and what you wanted out of this platform, and you found a partner in Omnidata to support that. How did you guys go about deciding that tech stack that you were going to build?
Yeah, so like I said, the Azure space had already been decided. We knew the technology that we wanted to play in, but we needed to establish a pattern. So under the guidance of Omnidata, we set up kind of a 6 to 8 week process to put together an architecture council. The purpose of that council was specific in evaluating patterns that made sense. So we started with a pretty strong handful of patterns of all the potential solutions, the mix and match of what we could tangibly execute that would help us scale. Specifically, that would help Milwaukee Tool kind of lead its way into an innovative space and not have to, start over in 5 years, 10 years. It had to be something that would grow. So we used some test case scenarios, took some actual live data, ran it through the patterns, kind of see how, to see how it performed. And ultimately, what we landed on was a very performant pattern that Omni helped us get to.
Yeah. It sounds like the Architecture Council was super successful in, helping determine what best fit Milwaukee Tool needs. I'd love to know more about the next step to that, which was, deploying this tech stack and bringing it to life.
Sure. So one of the important requirements, as Josh brought up, was data latency. So we wanted to achieve near real-time data in the data warehouse. So that was part of the prototypes that we built out. It was part of the requirements that we discussed at length with the Architecture Council. We also had to consider the fact that a lot of the data sources were still on premises, and we had to then limit the impact on the data sources with near real-time extraction. Then another piece was we wanted to really to implement the concept of discipline at the core with our enterprise data warehouse structure. So have strong data management, strong process management, and a really strong DevOps process to manage that core of the data environment at Milwaukee Tool. In addition to that, one of the things we want to enable down the road is IoT as an input in the future, and real-time telemetry streaming as well. With all of that in mind, we came to the unanimous decision at the Architecture Council to go with the core modern data warehouse architecture pattern, deployed in the unified analytics platform of Azure Synapse Analytics and PowerBI. And that enabled us to get the latency that we required, as well as the flexibility and the reliance on the existing skills on the Milwaukee Tool team.
Awesome. So, you guys have established this architecture based in Synapse and Power BI. Walk me through the process of actually building that and implementing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're starting off with all of the data in Azure Data Lake Store Gen 2 in its rawest form. Then we bring it into an end-to-end process in Synapse with pipelines in Synapse Studio, a centralized dev environment where we can do all of the dev environment in that workspace, unified workspace experience, as well as the compute and orchestration and integration with Azure DevOps, which is key to being able to manage a really strong process and maintain that discipline at the core. And then from there, we implement a series of enterprise data marts downstream from the core EDW that enables the business units to access and integrate the data that they need. And then last, we have enterprise PowerBI data sets that we deploy as enterprise assets, and that serves up the reporting and analytics for the business.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like there's a really complex architecture in place, and as a team, like along the way of developing and building this, what are some of those challenges you faced?
Right. So one of the first ones that we had to address is the fact that we have more than 70 different data sources. And that they are very different in type. So we have a fair bit of on-premises with SQL and DB2, Oracle. Then we have a number of cloud-based sources in form of Azure SQL, AWS, Redshift, NetSuite, and many more. So we had to integrate all of that while achieving near real time. In order to do that, we had to design a highly dynamic and robust data management platform where we could extract the metadata, dynamically handle schema drift as the sources change over time, generate the extract queries so we don't have to maintain thousands of those queries. We have close to 2,000 tables being extracted today into the enterprise data warehouse. And then manage different schedules across different data source types in the business. Getting all of that into ADLS, the data lake, also allows us to use serverless SQL pools for really flexible and dynamic compute, as well as attach Spark compute, enabling us to use Python, PySpark analysis of the data. For serving up the enterprise data assets, we went with dedicated SQL pool for that. The main reasons that we went that route is we wanted high performance, and we wanted a lot of predictability in the performance as well. Because we're loading data so frequently, we need to know that we have those dedicated compute resources as we're loading data. We also have really strong tools around workload isolations, so we can designate exactly which processes and which users have access to exactly how much compute and what time of day that they have access to those. And then finally, and this is very important, is that this played really well with the skill set that was already at Milwaukee Tool. So there's a lot of really talented SQL folks there. So that meant that as we started to train and bring in the Milwaukee Tool developers or data engineers into this project, within a day they were able to start contributing and building pipelines and assets in the system. So that is always really important as we're building these architectures, is let's do it in the reality of the organization that we're putting in place with.
Yeah, it was an interesting balance when you bring in a partner to have them assist in the building of something that's going to sustain us and take us into the future of data and analytics. We also had to make sure that the data and analytics team had that skill set. They needed to be trained in what was being built. So there was definitely some parallel work efforts around, this is what they're doing, this is the recommendation, this is how you be successful in this space. So it was a really critical key component of that dual partnership to making sure that our data engineers were set up for success, thus enabling our Power BI space as well, making sure that they could use it. It's performant.
Yeah, it's always great to find a good balance between like further education, but also leveraging the existing strengths of the organization to propel you even forward, right? And I kind of want to circle back as well, because there was mention of near real-time data and near real-time analytics, and I wanted to kind of double click on that and learn a bit more about how you guys made that happen.
Right. So there are a couple of key components to it. So the first one is that in order to know exactly what had changed on the on-premises data sources where we require near real-time data, we enabled change tracking to get that really high frequency data export. And then in the data warehouse, because we have mixed schedules and we want to get data in so fast, we implemented an advanced key store approach where we calculate all of the circuit keys up front that allows us to take full advantage of the massive parallel processing architecture of the Synapse dedicated pool, as well as handling both early and late arriving dimensions and facts. And the last piece of it is that with the recent public preview of the async refresh APIs for PowerBI that enables us to refresh individual partitions, it becomes a lot easier to do really precise incremental updates of the PowerBI enterprise datasets, really unlocking that last step of the near real-time analytics for us.
Yeah, and switching gears a little bit, I'd love to dive a bit more into the Power BI side of the platform and how Power BI is being used within Milwaukee Tool and what kind of reports are being built.
Absolutely. So Power BI has been in the Milwaukee Tool ecosystem for quite some time at this point. So we've got people in the business actively across our product development teams, quality, reliability, manufacturing, using Power BI. So that's a lot of people touching a reporting platform where the data that they were accessing before wasn't always readily available. It was disorganized. So the idea of kind of bringing this all together was so that we had performant data with the ability for our business to be self-service within that space. So we've taken a lot of time, effort, and really structured our approach and enhanced our partnership with Omnidata to put into place educational opportunities for the organization, as well as for the data and analytics team, or anybody who wants to learn Power BI for that fact. So the Power BI team has a really strong foundation in providing that education with the guidance of Omnidata in our dyads, so our dashboard and a-day courses, enabling the new people who are coming into Milwaukee Tool. We recruited 3,700 people last year. That's a lot of people to get on a platform and use it in a way that makes sense and provides the analytics that our business is looking for, our leadership teams are looking for. So for us, it was critical mass. And then we had to take it up a level and say, okay, well, now you know how to use Power BI. Can you make really outstanding visualizations? So we enhance the courses into visualizations. How do you take a stacked bar graph, something that you can do in a multitude of tools, and make it something really dynamic and something that's really useful for the organization to slice and dice the analytics of helping us answer those questions. How do we move forward in the future and answer the where do we need to be in the marketplace? What makes sense? So Power BI is a very powerful tool for us, and it is the future of where we're going for now, and lots of opportunities.
And that also has fed into the fact that the Power BI team at Milwaukee Tool has been a contributor to the new enterprise Power BI deployment best practice white paper that Microsoft released late last year as well. So also Milwaukee Tool is a thought leader in the Power BI space today.
We do. We want to be a thought leader. We want to make sure that we're enabling our organization. So I would say the team's put a lot of effort into kind of center of excellence thoughts, kind of leading the organization. And it's not just within the data team. I'd say the culture itself here is really solve your own problem at times. And it's amazing to see over the last several years the amount of BI assets that have been built by the business. I think one thing that we're realizing is you have some people who jump really deep into that swimming pool, and you have other people who are looking for our team to kind of do that. So there's a balance between those two. But the reality is they're building really good assets, but they're having to build them all by themselves. Like, that's the key takeaway here is, the project is trying to figure out how we build those core data assets so the folks that have to use the data at the BI layer aren't having to build everything every time that they want to start. We're kind of giving them that 80-20 rule. Like, here's the core set of data that you can use to slice and dice and organize into all of our BUs or the different views that people want. But at the BI layer, they're still also bringing in their own data assets to solve the problems that they have within their function. So it's been a really great project over the last year and a half, with BI being there to start with and us seeing kind of what trajectory we're on, and now figuring out that we have to build the assets to kind of come down to the middle. And I think we're getting to that balance between the two here that really is groundbreaking to kind of watch.
Yeah, it's really amazing to hear how Power BI has really empowered people across the organization, and to hear so many people within Milwaukee Tool so keen on learning about Power BI and using Power BI. And with that growth and curiosity amongst the organization, what's next for Milwaukee Tool? What's in the future?
There's a lot of things that we have to worry about. I think short term, we as a data team are challenging ourselves to stay current, to get out in the front of new technologies. Tobias talked about IoT Hub and streaming. Our testing organization generates tons of data, using our tools, running our tools, making sure that they're great products. How do we get better at collecting all of that and making it an asset for them is key. Manufacturing locations, we're building new plants, and as a part of that, talking about how do we get more data off of the lines and automate things along that front. With the world kind of going in a different direction with purchasing things, there's a lot more online orders, there's a lot more marketing activities and email traffic and things that the marketing organization is looking to pull together. So the ability for us to pull all of those things together in a way that makes it useful for the business and empowers them to be faster is the challenge that our team has for sure. The second part of that is we've built the foundation, and I think that that's really key, is that the project here has put the foundational piece at an enterprise layer together in a way that we've never had before. We've normalized the ERP data across several different business acquisitions and smaller segments so that the users don't have to figure out how to stitch that all together. It flows for them, right? But the big focus for our team as we land this project is to shift gears from the enterprise layer to now looking at the functional layer. We've pulled in the big data sets and we've built that foundation. Now there are unique things with each function. Finance has its own set of source systems that we have to figure out how to stitch stuff to. Supply chain, demand planning, all of the things going on in the world about the macro environment that they're trying to pull in to model, forecast, and demand against. So for us, the next gear for us is to figure out how we get the functional teams feeling more like they have their own data landscape. Maybe that's the way I'll frame it. Looking at the data mart schemas and kind of how we do that at a functional level. And then finding the balance where those assets exist for the functions that all the BI layer can be built upon, but built upon in a way that there's trust in the data, that we're processing that data at the right layer of the environment, and not trying to do too much in BI. I think that's one takeaway that we've had as we've grown or matured as a company is we've had some places where we've really built too much in the BI layer, and part of what we're trying to do is pull that up.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited about the disruptive innovation and the creation of new data products at Milwaukee Tool, as well as the ongoing partnership that we have here between Microsoft, Omnidata, and Milwaukee Tool. And so, thank you guys so much for your time today and speaking about all the awesome work you've been doing.
Oh,
thank you.
It's been fun.